Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we're going to be taking a look at this week's event quests, which we've skipped the last one, so I've switched the naming structure to where I'm just going to put the date at the end of each video that I post for when those event quests started, instead of just numbering it week whatever, because there's been a couple weeks where it was the same. This is the only quest that's actually different this week. Real quick peek, here's the Palico armor you get as a reward from this quest. So now let's discuss what the quest actually covers itself. And this one is called Congalala Courting Carols. Gather special materials and obtain the feline Hemstrigian Alpha Palico equipment. And that kind of goes along with what we had the other week where we were able to get a Hemstrigian set for ourselves, so now you can match with your Palico if you really want to. You're hunting 2 regular Congalalas and 1 tempered Congalala. It's not a particularly hard hunt, but it is actually kind of fun. Next week, we will have, again, just 1 new quest, with this one carrying over for a week, and that will be the Monkey King, which is to take on a 9-star equivalent Ajara Khan to obtain the Glowing Stone appraisal item, so another 9-star monster being added. Then the week after next, we get another quest called Meet at the Heart of Wyveria. And it's gather special materials and obtain the dual blade weapon Tasty Blades, with a note that the first time you complete it, you will get the Well Done Stake Strap. That one doesn't actually specify what monster you're going to be hunting in it, but it seems to have a Rathlos in the picture, and anyone that's been around long enough knows that this is basically a stake-themed set of dual blades, so it's like you're going out and fighting with meat on a stick. Pretty cool little set. And I can't imagine that's going to be an unpopular one. The weird quirky weapons make really good transmogs, or I always default back to the term transmog, so I'm just going to stick with that. Now, one thing I hadn't noticed last week, or else I would have done a video on it then and mentioned it then. Of course, it may have just popped up this week, and that's why I didn't notice it last week. But we've had a couple new permanent quests added in beyond just the Gamma monsters, so the Arc-Tempered monsters. All of the quests that can give you materials to make Ardian weapons, or the ones that can give you armor spheres for upgrade, have been made permanent quests now. Personally, I would recommend doing Tongue-Tied if you really want to get the armor spheres, because it's super fast to kill the Chotacabra. And yeah, you can probably get a little bit more rewards at the end of the quest from the one going after Guardian Fulguranginath or Guardian Rathalos, but you can kill the tempered Chotacabra super fast. So the speed of completion on that one, to me, is what makes it the one that's worthwhile to go to. And it's going to be pretty necessary to do that here soon, because let's talk Gogmazios for a little bit. It's looking like it's going to release December 16th, and that is actually the official date. Then they have adjusted a few things to make you able to prep for it. It will require Hunter Rank 100, and it's going to come with a system that will actually allow you to increase the defenses on your armor beyond what it is right now, which is the reason why they're opening up the ability for you to farm up armor spheres, so that you can go ahead and be prepped for that. You're going to be modifying armor system in general, so you can upgrade your armor a little bit further and actually increase things like gem slots and whatnot on those pieces. You'll also be able to upgrade Ardian weapons to be even stronger than what they are right now, to add in things like set bonuses. Now, they haven't really specified exactly how that's going to work just yet, so whether or not you're going to want to use your God Roll Ardian weapon on this, or whether it's just going to be another layer of randomness on top of it, who knows? Hopefully it'll be something where it's a little bit more controlled than just the randomness that we've seen with Ardian weapons, because it would suck to have to get perfect rolls twice in a row, unless they'll let you save scum it. Like, if they just leave the second part up for reloading, then sure, I guess they could do that, but it would be a bit of a cheap way to increase the life of the game, in my opinion. So hopefully it's a little bit more controlled than the first one, because then it would actually give some point to trying to farm up a perfect, just baseline Ardian. In addition to that, the way they have addressed Gogmazios is that you need some sort of fire weapon, apparently, to soften up the oil on the outside of him, to then be able to use Dragon on the layer underneath. So they're sort of leaning into your ability to actually bring 2 weapons along in the hunt for this one, to make it a bit more of a 2-weapon necessary fight. Now, whether or not you'll be able to actually just bypass that and ignore it and use whatever you want to use, like say with Gun Lance, really the element doesn't matter. There's one that's just been superior in general. I don't know. I know with Fatalis back in the day, you had that DPS check that you had to bypass, and so you kind of had to lean into the elemental resistances a little bit to meet that. Same sort of deal with Elatrion. So who knows? Maybe it will be absolutely necessary to soften up the oil to keep some sort of bad thing from happening. There's also been a lot of speculation about this actually involving more than just 4 hunters. Personally, I think that was just the number of characters that was actually in the cinematic when it's first appearing. I don't suspect this will be more than that, or else they would have probably mentioned something about it being a slightly different fight than normal to go ahead and start building up hype. I actually wouldn't mind if it's a siege akin to Kolv Turoth, as long as it doesn't require as many runs as Kolv did. I'm not really sure how they would do that with the ability to actually use mercenaries in this one. It would be interesting if you could actually start up a lobby and just basically fill up the rest of your group with mercenaries and have a whole secondary group that runs in parallel to yours. It's mercs, so that it can progress the meters a little bit faster than what it was to do Kolv solo. But who knows? We'll see. I highly suspect that that's just a coincidence with the cinematic and that this will just be a traditional fight with 4 players. I seem to recall at one point they said they had no intentions at that point in time, or no plans at that point in time, of doing a siege style fight. And they tend to have these title updates pretty thoroughly planned out in advance. So if they were actually planning on it, I don't think they would have addressed that question quite as bluntly as they did. But anyway, go ahead and farm up some armor spheres and cap off your gear if it's not capped off, and set it aside if it is, so you can have it ready to go whenever he gets here. And other than that, December 16th looks like a good time, at least for me, because it's just before I'll start Christmas break at work. So I'll have plenty of time to dive into him and actually try to finish him out. And maybe in the process, once I get a little bit of armor, I can finally be successful with AT New Udra. He's been whipping me pretty thoroughly. I also just not really had the time to pump more than about 5 attempts in on him. So I don't know. We'll see. Either way, I'll actually be taking Gog down one way or another. One of my favorite fights. Excited to see him back. Anyway, that's it for the video. I hope you have a good evening. And remember, if I can beat it, so can you.
Debilitated. think we'll